Hello everybody. For today's video I actually want to do just a really quick tip. And a lot of us buy our fig cuttings off of eBay, and a lot of times we don't know how old the fig cutting is. It could be a day old, a couple days old, week, months. So the best way to tell whether or not your fig cutting that you've received from eBay is viable and healthy is to cut into it. So this is a Vashon Violet cutting. I have a few here off of my tree, and these were literally cut this morning, so you know that it's fresh. Take your pruners and literally cut into it. I mean, let's say you get a cutting that is, 6 inches long, and if you're using my method, you should probably cut it into 2-inch pieces anyways, so that you maximize the amount of figs that you can get. So let's take this one for instance. I know this was cut this morning, so I know it's fresh. So let's say you get your fig cutting from eBay, and you want to see how fresh it is. First of all, you want to cut into it, right? And say you don't want to waste too much, but I'm going to turn these into 2-inch cuttings anyways. I want to cut in between each node and then look at the inside of it, right? So let's look at this here. If the cambium ring here is green, then you know it's still fresh. This one I know it's fresh. It's still nice and green on the inside. Take a look at that. Now if it's all brown and tan and dried out, you're going to be able to see that for sure. So that's one method. Okay. And here's another method of checking out whether or not your fig cuttings are still fresh and viable. I think I cut a little too deep, and just kind of scrape that first layer, right? Let's see if the camera can focus. Excuse me. And you see all that green underneath the bark? You see that? So you know that's fresh. You know that there's life there, and once you put it into whatever rooting method you're going to do, it's going to survive. Okay? Okay, so moving on to the next step of prepping your fig cutting for rooting, you want to cut into something manageable, right? This one's a little bit long, so I'm just going to cut that in half. It fits right down here in the sink. Take some kind of antibacterial soap. I'm just using some dishwashing soap. A little brush. Scrub that guy. This is not going to hurt the fig at all. It's actually just going to clean away any kind of mold spores that might have accumulated on the bark. Get rid of anything that might cause mold, so you definitely want to eliminate any source of mold. Now, those are clean fig cuttings. Okay, so here's the third step of getting your fig cuttings and prepping them for rooting. Using the lasagna method, I literally got a lasagna pan from the Dollar Tree. This one actually comes with a clear plastic lid. It fits on here perfectly, and it's $1. So it's cheap. It's not an expensive way of rooting figs by far. It's only fitting that you root the fig cutting using the lasagna pan in the lasagna method. So what I want to do is just cut this down to about 2-inch sizes, and maximize how many figs we can grow out of this. So typically, you know, a fig cutting is going to be about like that long once you receive it from eBay. Now you're getting 3 nice pieces out of it, and these are guaranteed to root. They're thick, they're about finger size, and they're green in the cambium layer, so you know it's nice and, you know, alive. So here we go. Now I also want to remind you that when you get your 2-inch cutting, what you want to do is actually make sure you have at least 1 to 2, I mean even 3 nodes on there to make sure there's an actual spot where the leaves are going to sprout from. So if you get a fig cutting and there's no nodes on there, most likely that's not going to make it. Moving on to the next step of adding your soil or bark or perlite mixture. Lasagna method. One more time, you've seen this before. This is simple. Bark layer goes down. This is more of like a drainage layer. Thin soil mixture. This is comprised of compost, perlite, some fine bark, then another layer of perlite here, and small bark. So this next layer basically is a shield between the cutting and the soil, because I've noticed that when cuttings touch the soil, I don't know, sometimes it can rot because the soil retains a lot of moisture, and that moisture touching the cutting can cause it to rot. So we got 1 tray here. This would have been a lot of cups, a lot of space. We're getting all of this done within 1 tray. So think about how much space you save just doing this method versus like the traditional cup method. So looking at, yeah, this is about close to 30 cuttings. Okay, so all right, so that's that. Okay, so we're almost done here, and I like to write love on all of my rooting techniques, and you've kind of seen the video of why, Dr. Masaru Emoto, in his study on just kind of using positive words that can affect water and probably on a molecular level affect organisms too. So it doesn't hurt. It's kind of silly, seems silly, but it doesn't hurt. That is for sure. I also want to write Vashon Violet and the date 1/23/16. Put that on there. And take my shungite water in my spritzer and spray. So you want to get this nice and moist and just really saturate it, because you want that water to penetrate through the top layer, through the fig layer. Now, the reason why I'm using the spritzer versus just kind of pouring in water is I can control how much liquid is actually going into the container instead of letting it pool into some puddle, you know, at the bottom and causing a situation that could cause a lot of rot. Covered. Done. And of course, through the magic of YouTube, after, I don't know, what is this? Couple months, you know, you should get something like this, right? So this is my Nero fig, large Nero fig. I think this is a Genovese Nero, and it's been in here since about mid-October. This is what it looks like. I mean, same exact method. And all I've done was, as soon as I saw some leaves come out, I would crack open the lid just a tiny little bit so that I can start acclimating it to drier air. And then once, you notice that it's doing okay and there's more leaves coming out, you can definitely take off the lid completely, because if you let this thing grow with the lid on it for too long, it's going to get used to this high humidity area, and once you open that lid, it'll completely dry out and die on you. So you got to definitely watch for that. So anyways, hope you find that informative. I mean, that's just kind of it's just kind of the method that I do. Once I get cuttings off of eBay or trading with folks, I kind of go through that method to make sure, I have clean cuttings, maximize the amount of cuttings I get, and then have high success in terms of rooting them. So anyways, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.